Cesar, it's really good to have you here. Really, really good. I'm glad you're part of the show and featuring as you do. Cesar is a Latino poet influenced by Asian masters, a resident of San Francisco's Mission District. He's also an editor of the Haight Ashbury Literary Journal, along with Alice Rogoff. He spent time studying the indigenous poetry of Mexico. His published collections of poems are titled While Bees Sleep and Birthright.
I would like to add that being here and being the host, that I've always found Cesar to be modest and succinct.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Thank you, David. Modest and succinct. I'm going to try to be boastful and long-winded, but I don't know if I can get away with it. Well, I'm actually not going to focus on myself or my own poetry tonight. I've organized a tribute to Stephen Coppell, whose work I really enjoyed. And the last couple, 2 or 3 days, I've been reading his poems. I checked out a couple books of his from the library, Tender Absurdities, and I think the other one's called Spritz, and Picnic Poetry, which I already had in my collection. And I've been watching him on YouTube, and I thought I knew his work pretty well, but there's other layers that I did not know before. I mean, I recognize his wordplay and the way he did things, but he had some poems, actually did some poems from kind of sad poems. If you look to the YouTubes of the Generations readings, he had some sort of really sad kind of poignant poems. It's a different style, a different side of him that I didn't recognize. He also wrote about baseball, and I did not know that either. A lot of his poems are about baseball, and I was pretty surprised because baseball's my favorite thing, but I do not write poems about baseball. I write prose about baseball, but I don't write poems about baseball. To me, that's kind of that would be some kind of idolatry, not for me to write about baseball, but I'm glad Stephen wrote about baseball. But anyways, this is my tribute to Stephen Coppell, and I did not know, as I was doing all this research, that yesterday was his birthday. He would have been 84 years old, and I'm reading his books and thinking about him on his birthday, but that just by accident happened. Well, anyways, thank you, Stephen. Getting started now. This is a tribute poem that I wrote for him a couple of years ago, called For Stephen Coppell, 1940 to 2020. If I could rhyme like a mockingbird, if I could pun like a stripper who never once blushed, if I could harness that invisible wave, a wave something like the space-time continuum, but beyond calculus, beyond probability, a wave morphing quarks and quasars into verbs and nouns, a wave sometimes corkscrew, on occasion paisley, a wave often curveball, and then knuckleball. Perhaps if I had a window seat on a satellite, maybe if I had a spaceship in my garage, then I could cameo at open mics across the galaxy. Then I might be a shaman of words like Stephen Coppell. But alas, I have no spaceship. Still, I am grateful this comet crossed my path.
Bravo.
And I am going to read now a poem by Stephen Coppell, which I think he would have responded with that. Give me a moment. This poem is called What's Really Out There? And it's from Picnic Poetry. What's really out there? The Center for Derelict Satellites announced its aversion to taking up too much space. If the Milky Way becomes genetically altered, will the Kurds discard cheese altogether? Meteors never shower if they think the universe is looking. Does a comet scour and cleanse as it plunges, then vanishes? With nothing left to notch, Van Allen belts tighten buckles. Ms. Cosmic Rays is always searching for cosmetics to mask hot flashes. Bubble puddles with black holes, hoping for clarity. Never fails. Spacey matter, demanding time in the sun. That's by Mr. Coppell. Now I'm going to read one of my poems. This one's called Puncture Wound. This morning, I am a plum whose skin no longer contains its juices. Last night, someone put their teeth in me. I think it was God. Now, Mr. Coppell's response to that. Poem called 1947. 1947. Roswell plays itself. Skeptic tanks think they're losing it when flushed with a chemical stink. Helium lifting. Everybody's spirits every day, except Sunday, when somebody's Lord plays host to wafers and wafers that stay suspended on tongues, too tongue-tied to admit that the collared crowd lied. Hard to get flags waving when Coyote nabs pal Breeze and Truth up for grabs when alien conventions tents get pitched. Believers let their eyes scan the skies. Heat waves suck air out of wind stealers' jaws. Believers find relief sipping sodas out of straws. Roswell, don't go belly aching. Buttons your vendors sell by the hundreds every day, except Sundays when banks close and closets open doors to local ETs and their uncles and aunts. Let scorpions dance on heat-seeking rocks. Did then, will again. That's Roswell playing host to 100 versions of the truth. Okay, now, this poem is mine. It's called Solar System. Cups and bowls filled above the brim. She walks without spilling a drop. One ripe tomato in a basket. A minuscule bug strolls the equator. On the grass, a Labrador runs leashless. The vagabond comet departs and returns. And Mr. Coppell's answer to that is called Pesky Pets, Pests. Pesky Pests. Unrehearsed, ants upstage the local extravaganza. Vermin's holiday on lice, with maneuvers linoleum. In every dim lit cafe, roaches desert the diner, resenting pledges of allegiance, wiped on Aunt Margie's maple, an object of affection by one beleaguered termite who doesn't bother to officially resign his post. Boredom extinct with creosote in a house deliberately framed where mothballs ball, beating busty chests with drawers exposed in a blush. Andromeda's front fender, flea bitten, tits elated in the northern sky. So the poem I have about, it's called Donut Shop. I like to say, I don't like donuts, but I do like donut shops. Donut shop. Most customers order theirs to go. The glazed, the old fashioned, the maple bars. They take them in small white bags or in big pink boxes. Then there are the ones who order for here. The ones who nest at the counter or sit beside the window. Their daydreams floating like buttermilk bars and memories uncurling like cinnamon twists. Their amusements twirl, their ideas fancy as French twists. Flavorsome steam ascends from the coffee pots, dark roast, Kona, and hazel. Refills on the house. Now, Mr. Capel, saucy, tenderized, trimmed, released from Gromit's circusy. Steaks sing the praises of an out of tune marinade, unafraid to serenade. This side of the beef, bacon wrapped, bringer of grief, to cardiacs arrested for disturbing the peace of this leftover dish, a vegetarian quiche, belly aching in a mush room, where gloom is dispersed by a sous chef's broom. And sauce, slowly stirred, begins a beguine in a slick-sided tureen, shimmies, quakes, then a crossover dip into a sexy carioca, perfect for a pair of tipsy asparagus, numb from hanging a ride to Rio with ginger and a stare. Okay. Now this poem is mine. It's called Morning Choice. Daybreak meal. I hold the question of my toast. What will be its spread? The grape jelly, the orange marmalade, both gifts of morning. I could choose grape, that sweet island of the dark, a gift of nocturnal rivers, that squeeze of euphonic night, midnight's vial. Forgive me, grape. This morning, I choose orange. Give me the little sun. Give me those jelly tiger stripes. I wish to taste their revels, for this morning I am the tiger's purr. Oh, orange, you brashest of fruit, be spread on my bread, be spread on my day. Now, Mr. Capel. Poem is called Comb Home. Let us pray, my toupee, before breakfast finds the part that falls over 4 heads. Wheat slices lie comatose on a bald pate. Butter out of reach. Cows cuddle, cows cutting classes in a county nearby. And jam, anybody in it? I open both lids. The apricots south of Solvang, police every gate, left ajar when the Masons departed. In my decaffeinated confusion, coffee does not appear to percolate, or that Colombian donkey, and with it, I unlock the dough box. Nuts and bolts of any budget, especially one where brioche is flown in from the Paris Hilton. Okay, so this next poem is mine, called Inventory. I am removing items from my refrigerator. Cheeses that wouldn't save, vegetables that had hoped for another day, strange meat forgotten in the attic. There is rancid stuff in jars, there is wilted stuff in baggies. I acknowledge them and say goodbye. In the basement, there is a unique kind of sweet potato, which was given by a friend. I had forgotten about them both. Now, Mr. Capel, organic. How could the shoe store's inventory be missing a pair? In the sauna, bananas slip out of their jackets. solving theft of fruit in Solvang means calling in the apricots. Between her breasts, silence of the yams. No matter the color of skins, berries do date, they just antelope. On her boutique farm, cousin Tiffany begins harvesting baby carrots today. Back to me. Seal Rock. It just sits there, right where it did before anyone's memory. Every day, the ocean waves crash against its shoulder. It doesn't budge, it doesn't blink, it just sits there. Seals gather on its head. They have parties, they squabble, they make love. Then they go for a swim. Before, I envied the seals. Now, I envy the rock. Ooh. Mr. Coppell's answer to that. Undaunted. Aristotle hits the bottle, back to shot in the parking lot. Reverberates, he contemplates. His anger spent, he'll circumvent. Public dismay, quit the NRA. Grow short his hair, end the affair. With bloated fame, reclaim his name. Mass debater, instigator. Okay. I'm wrapping this up. I have one more poem by myself and one more by Mr. Coppell. Remember me like the mushrooms. Spongy yet dry. Earthy, but otherworldly as well. Phallic, but not obviously so. After deep rains, I'll emerge through the grass. A cameo, but not a complete surprise. Safe, but not everyone will know that. Okay. And this is by Mr. Coppell. Appleton, a version of myself rounded the corner. Of course, sandpaper helped. Rounded the corner into quadratic equations, blinking, winking. At intersections of acute angles, measuring my intent to evade the shade. Sunspots dog one, then it's two doggies. Arabesque balancing at the same hydrant. Elegant plug, the locus of a pocus, which felt right at home, tilting in the direction of downtown, where my wand magically waved at someone who could have been me. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stephen Coppell.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, please unmute and let him hear. Let him hear. Say, wow.
Thanks.
That was so much fun, Cesar.
Oh, what a treat.
That was amazing. The way you read them. I mean, it brought back his voice. And you did a good job.
The master editor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to thank you for, paying tribute to Stephen Coppell, who was one of my biggest fans, a real sweet guy, and he loved my Oaktown Blue thing, and I miss him. Thank you.
You're welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, it was very nice to hear Capel in such profusion. Very nice.
Mhm.
Yeah.